I don't know why, but every time we go, like when it's getting ready to go live, I hold my breath and I'm like, no, dumbass, you got to breathe. All
My
right, let's
entire
get
life
started.
is about me being a dumbass and not breathing. Let me turn the air conditioner off.
Oh, hold up, let me. Let's get started.
You
Good thing I
opening
caught it
YouTube?
now. No, it's for some reason the Audacity. Oh, that's why. Because I'm a fucking idiot. There we go. Now it should record you too.
Oh, I'm sort of overrated when it
Well,
comes to my part of the show.
well, no, but it's like, do I have me where I'm only getting half the conversation, or do I have the whole conversation? That's what it was.
Welcome to Gregor. It's Gregor, and well, actually nothing else.
This is the episode where Gregor goes crazy. All right, let's get started.
Goes.
Hello and welcome to ElseNerds, a production of Galactic Network. I'm Gregor Sprague.
And I'm Corey Scott.
For all info on this show, including show notes and subscription links, go to gncast.com. And for all, or for ElseNerds, damn it, I jumped a line. For all info on this show, including show notes and subscription links, go to elsenerds.com. And for other Galactic Network programs, go to gncast.com.
On the ElseNerds, we will say some things that might be offensive, and we will spoil things, which is always offensive, unless you know it's coming. So now it's up to you. The challenge is yours.
So, Corey, how you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing, Gregor?
I'm doing pretty good. I've realized something with for the audio listeners, check out the video. You'll see that Corey looks a little higher up.
Yeah,
And
I
that's,
took the same pill that the Grinch took when his heart grew 3 sizes that day. Mine just made me taller.
but I've started to realize, I don't know if it's an actual thing or if it's just me like placing stuff on here, but you seem like your voice is a little deeper with this, the height of the chair or something.
Oh,
I
yeah, because I'm not actually sitting on my nuts. So
don't, yeah, something like
I
that.
can go lower an
But no, so it's good to see you here. We were going to record yesterday, but there was some things. It was partially you, partially me. There were some things with the like there was a fire in Petaluma yesterday.
quite the fire.
Yeah,
Several people's homes were affected. Uh, very glad that it seems to be that everybody came through it as far as their personhood
yeah,
unscathed, but it was terrifying and a mess, and my heart goes out to everybody who had to deal with that.
yeah. And then the other side of things is, by the time Corey got home, we would have been able to go then. And I'm like, um, Beatmaster's asking if did Leo leave his Note 7 at home charging? Because I don't hear that enough at work. You got the smartphones? Are those the ones that explode? No, we don't sell those.
Well, I
And
mean, if you do it right.
yeah, and I say it that deadpan too. I'm like, no, we don't sell those. But
For
so
anybody concerned about my well-being, I did do my exchange on my Note 7 last Thursday. I also talked to Samsung's promotional support, and they are taking care of me as a customer who had the pre-order, even though the pre-order promotion finished off the day before I got my exchange. So I felt like I was getting kind of screwed. It turns out that there's a current promotion that's for the S7 and S7 Edge that applies to the Note, although it doesn't say that on their site. So if you go to
yeah,
samsungpromotions.com, you can
that
still find yourself eligible for the either free 256 gigabyte memory card or the Samsung VR that's current. So I'm getting the memory card.
nice.
Yeah.
That's what I've been looking at doing. Like once I save up some money and get the and I'm able to go to actually, I'm probably going to go to Verizon just because of, of talking with their rep and the employee discount thing that I get. I'm like, heck yeah.
Yeah, the employee discounts are pretty spiffy. I remember a lot of people work in the mobile department at Best Buy, and that was kind of like everybody wanted to go work at that department.
Yeah. Well, it's cool because where I don't get, because I work with Target Mobile, I don't get the Target discount.
Right.
I get discounts on the cell phones. There's one that I could do right now with Bose speakers, and it's like there's all these other little benefits, and I'm like, dang, man.
Yeah,
But I also get the mall discount, so I get 10% off on Panda Express.
Nice.
Yeah.
When I first started with Best Buy years and years ago, they had a spiff that was for the mobile department, because for some reason the mobile department were the ones who were selling TiVos, and so all the people in the cell phone area had TiVos, and I'm like, what is that? That's jerky, man.
Yeah. That's sort of like us. Like we sell, and I think I could. No, I don't know. But I sell Comcast and DirecTV. Like that's one of the things that they want us to sell.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, everyone here has Comcast already, so yeah, I'll keep trying. But no, like I forgot what I was going to say about where I was going with that at first. But yeah, it's good to be back. Oh, the other reason was I wanted to see the second episode of a show I'll be talking about later. That's why, because my opinions have changed on it. Not in like my liking it, but I'll get to that later. So let's go to the news. I've pulled 3 stories here. One I was like, okay, whatever, but then I read it. I'm like, oh, okay, we're talking about that one. And it is NBC Universal teams with Tom Hardy's production company on 2 TV shows. So the voice of, well, the actor who played Bane in the Dark Knight Rises, his Hardy Son and Baker production company, they will produce the crime thriller Pendulum and the science fiction TV show Trees. Now, Pendulum, I don't know too much about. It's going to be, it's based on a book, I guess, by that'll be coming out next year. But the one that intrigued me more was the Trees thing, because it's written by Warren Ellis and the illustrator Jason Howard. It's actually over at Image Comics right now, and that is something that I've been seeing. I've read the book. I love the book, and the premise. I'm like, this would make a pretty good TV show, because what it is for that premise, it's a year. I think it's like 10 years after an alien invasion, when really all they did is they've just come down in their crafts and landed in spots, and it's just the humans dealing with this. So whether it's there's one tree in, I think it's in Africa, that is the shortest of all the trees, so they've actually weaponized it. They've put, and they can't screw anything into it. They can't dig, like they can't puncture the trees, as they call them, but they just set these machine guns up on top, like ready for anyone to come mess with them. And you see these people from all around the world, and how they're dealing with these trees, how they're dealing with, what's going on. And it's an ongoing series, so I mean, their issues are coming out like, monthly, or I think they're on a break right now, but it's a great story, and it's a little bit like Sense8, but with an alien invasion aspect in there, which is it's a great story. I'm not doing it justice right now, but it's also because it's been a little while since I've read the last issue.
All right. Well, just to go back for a second, this is someone who has read Pendulum, Liz Barnsley on Goodreads.com. This is from her review. It says, John Wallace comes around one morning to find a man in body armor and a mask attempting to hang him. All pleas for mercy fall on deaf ears. Then fate intervenes and John manages to run, but this killer is dogged and intelligent and most of all, hidden. What follows is a battle of wits and determination as John attempts to find out why he's been targeted and to stay alive as long enough to do that. So, yeah, that sounds sort of interesting. It sounds maybe like a mix of The Prisoner, or not The Prisoner. I'm sorry. What was the one with Harrison Ford? Where he was running from Tommy Lee Jones. It was a remake of
The Fugitive.
Fugitive, yeah. That could be interesting. And Tom Hardy is an interesting guy. He's certainly done a lot of compelling, if weird, bits and things. I remember, wasn't he the guy in the giant mask that was in a band or something?
No, that I think that was. Are you talking about Frank, the movie Frank?
That maybe it is. I don't know.
If it's that one, that was Fassbender. That was Michael Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender. Okay, then I don't really know anything about Tom Hardy.
No, Tom Hardy. You talked about following. I can't think who said it was, but you follow someone. Oh, Mandy Moore on Instagram. Tom Hardy is another one that it seems like that'd be interesting to follow on Instagram because
he's just so
I've seen him in the past. Well, he's pretty, yeah. But I've seen him do video, like the videos get released of him where he's like freestyle rapping, and his daughter's right there, or he's just being adorable with his little 4-year-old daughter, or he's and then the next day he's on the set of this new movie that he's shooting where it's this big action film, and stuff like that, and it just sounds really cool. It sounds like a really cool thing that he does.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize this. He's on Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, he's on the BBC program, Peaky Blinders. And that's the cool thing with a lot of these, a lot of these British actors is they might be big, big movie stars, but they still will do television appearances or star in television shows.
Yeah, so that should be interesting. I mean, He's got a good pedigree.
Yeah, and there's no word
coming out. And both of these are not remakes of old shows, which is something we'll get into a little later on too. Yeah, they're based on a book or whatever, but that's a little different. I applaud anybody who's doing original ideas and concepts on TV and in movies right now. It seems too few and far between.
Oh yeah, definitely. And there's still early development, so it will probably, what'll end up happening is Trees will probably end up on Sci-Fi, and the Pendulum probably on USA Network is my prediction for those. But yeah, so the next story is that Sony moves up plans for Harbinger as its first movie in the Valiant Comics cinematic universe. Now, this one is I like this story because we're getting more superhero type. We're getting more comic book movies. But it's from a comic book company that a lot of people have probably not heard of.
Well, it's certainly not the big name dropper as DC or Marvel, but even with DC and Marvel, they're doing with Marvel in particular, they're doing movies about characters that nobody's ever heard of, like Ant-Man or Guardians of the Galaxy, and making that happen. And honestly, Valiant's got a long pedigree. I mean, it came out many moons ago. A lot of their characters were actually acquired and then went over to another company. So I saw that Ninjak has a movie coming out. Ninjak was for a while a Valiant character and now no longer is. I think Turok is another one that got pulled to another company. So Valiant Turok for the last
is, Dark Horse, I believe.
probably, yeah, or being published by Dark Horse now, but was under the banner head for this. So the last few years, Valiant has kind of come out when DC and Marvel have been going through not necessarily a lull, but going through a lot of challenging times for the readership. And a lot of people who've jumped ship from those books have moved over to Valiant, much like they've moved over to Image. But whereas Image is not a shared universe, Valiant is. And I've read some of the stuff, and some of it I had familiarity with from before, from old publishing, especially when Fabian Nicieza had taken it over and it was getting published by the video game company. I can't remember who it was, but I really liked, I think it was Fred Van Lente's version of Archer and Armstrong. I thought that was very entertaining. I wanted to enjoy Quantum and Woody more than I did, and I just think it's difficult to do material after Christopher Priest did it originally and was so phenomenal. But it might have grown on me. It just, I kind of was in and out of it. But the character Faith that they have that started out in Harbingers, I think she has grown very popular. Bloodshot has done very well. Bloodshot is one of the ones they're planning on doing a movie for, following up Harbinger. I think that there's a lot of potential here, and it doesn't have the same stigmas that we have by having seen Superman up on the screen multiple times before, Batman up on the screen multiple times before. Everybody has an image in their head of Wonder Woman from the TV series or from 70 years of comic books. Valiant doesn't have that same kind of deal that they have to work through. On top of that, it's nice for Sony because while they are kind of developing this, they are also having their cake and eating it too by getting to do Spider-Man within the Marvel universe. So they get two opportunities to play with superhero stuff, one in the big box of Marvel stuff, and then one in the smaller, more easy for them to control box of this Valiant universe stuff, which is still licensed property, but they are not sharing.
Yeah.
Now Beatmaster says you lost me at Sony, and I don't blame him for that. Although I'd probably be much more bummed out if it was Fox at this point. The thing is that we don't really know much about Sony currently, since the big shakeup happened a couple years ago with them, with the email leaks and everything, and the head who got ousted, who is still in control of the Spider-Man stuff, but is working with Marvel on it. What is Sony today that compared to then? And can they do things differently, and can they do things better?
No, yeah, definitely. I think Sony with this is they're backing out more with the Marvel stuff, but then realizing with them doing the Valiant stuff that this is going to be a potential moneymaker for them, because of the fact that, like you said, this is Valiant Comics. Not a lot of people know about Valiant. There's not this big history that they have to deal with, and all these different versions. Like, oh, is this going to be like the 2014 version of Harbinger, the 2012 version, or the 2000 version of Harbinger? No, it's just, this is Harbinger, and I could see this being the jumping off point for all the other books. The Archer and Armstrong, the Faith getting her own movie, Exo Man of War. All this is basically where I could see that going.
Yeah, the only concern is because Marvel has had such a heavy hand on their stuff, and a creative director overseeing it with Kevin Feige, and with involving people like Joss Whedon, Jon Favreau, and the Russo brothers who know the stuff and who've had a really smart pull on it, and Marvel making their own studio out of it. that's shown why they're successful.
Yeah.
DC going and now doing things like we're actively working with DC creators to bring these movies out. We're trying to make sure that the characters are true to their comic roots, and it's not just like shoving Shaq in a big fake metal suit and calling him Steel and having it have nothing to do with the character from the Superman mythos. Is Sony gonna have the feeling that they need to be beholden to who's made these comics, who's made these characters what they are, or are they just going to take the loose ideas of them, shove them on the screen, and say, "Well, this is Harbinger for the screen, and we took what we liked and we added all this other shit, and now Harbinger happens to have a little kumquat that helps him fight crime and shit or whatever," because that's the thing. If you ever watched the sketch that Key and Peele did about Gremlins 2, which hilariously enough actually reflected what was in Gremlins 2, but someone comes in and just like, let's take the most ridiculous shit and throw it in this movie. That happens in Hollywood a lot, and it's a question of if Sony is smart enough to say, we're using these properties, we're going to use them the right way, or if Valiant making the deal with Sony is like, hey, if you're going to do this, we're going to have some involvement and we're going to have some control as to you're going to utilize our characters correctly.
Yeah.
Or they're just like, cut us the fucking check and we'll take it and run and just keep making comics. It's hard to say, but hopefully, because Beatmaster mentioned that Sony is the ones who unfortunately nixed the Men in Black 23 Jump Street crossover. And they are also the ones who do Underworld. I've never been a fan of the Underworld movies. I know they have a new one coming out, but how long has that been in development? Is that new Sony or is that the last vestiges of old Sony?
Wait, they got a new Underworld coming out? I thought they had a new Resident Evil.
Both.
Oh, okay. Shows how much I actually watch those movies. And moving on, the final story we got for the news segment is that the Doctor Who spin-off class is expected to feature Peter Capaldi in its premiere, and they gave loose release dates for both America and the UK. So that's sort of the big news here. And so a brief overview on what the show is going to be about. It is set at Coal Hill Academy, which is very popular in the mythos of Doctor Who, because that is where the first companions are from. They're the teachers with the first Doctor they're instructors from Coal Hill Academy, and the Doctor's granddaughter is a student there. And it was it appeared in the what was it, the 50th anniversary special the Coal Hill Academy did, and then it also became where Clara Oswald was an instructor. And so the class is going to be, it's going to air in late October in the UK. It'll premiere on BBC Three, so it's going to be online only, on the online exclusive for over in the UK, and then here we're getting it in on BBC America in the spring of 2017. Now the cool thing is, to me, with this is, and like the article says, unlike the previous Doctor Who spin-offs, Torchwood and the Sarah Jane Chronicles, this is targeting a different audience, where Torchwood was aimed at the post-watershed older adults, and the Sarah Jane Adventures was targeted to much younger viewers. The class is shooting for the late teen to early adult audience.
Yeah, Sarah Jane was basically Saturday morning Doctor Who light. Doctor Who is its thing, and then Torchwood was Doctor Who After Dark. This is Doctor Who 90210.
Yeah, and none of the actors on here, for me as a person who watches a lot of British TV shows, are popping out as someone that or as anyone that I recognize. But that's still a great thing, because it's like, oh hey, we're gonna get this great performance out of this. And I cannot wait for later in October so I can watch The Class, because I magically go over to the UK at various times. So that is it for the news. All right, and we are back, and it is time for nerding out. So I will go first because, well, I'm going to talk about Corey about his anyways. And mine is a British TV show that appears on Dave called Dara O'Brien Goes 8-Bit.
Are they just shining nice new shows on Tasteful Dave's bald head? Hi, Dave. Is that just...
Yes. Yeah. So Dave, which is a TV channel over in the UK, is famous for airing old BBC and Channel 4 shows. So it'll air like right now you'll probably find them airing like Russell Howard's Good News or old episodes of Top Gear, or QI or 8 out of 10 Cats. It goes over to Dave after it gets done over on BBC and Channel 4. But they also do original stuff. Like they have Red Dwarf airs over there. Dara O'Brien's Goes 8-Bit is another show, obviously because I'm talking about it. Alan Davies has a show over there, which actually is really cool. It's like a roundtable discussion with comedians. Sort of like Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, except there's no coffee and no cars. But there's that, that talk of have happened in the comedians' lives, and how they do comedy and stuff like that. One of the great episodes I'd recommend is that had Harry Shearer on there. But this is all about video games. So this is part panel show, which I love. I love me a good panel show, but it's another part video game show. So each week, Dara O'Brien, with his two regulars, the team captains, they bring in two other comedians or two other people to do sorry, my mom is distracting me at my door. But so they'll bring in comedians or famous people, and they will play 5 video games over the course of the episode. And there are points that are there are points that are awarded per who wins and who loses. And so you'll get games like, actually one of my favorite ones was they did Little Big Planet 3, and the production company actually made that, the people who make the video game made a special Go 8-Bit version or a Go 8-Bit level, and I'm like, that is cool. And they've done other things like on the first episode they had I can't think of what the game was, but their final game, they had it hooked up to other people, so like to for the controls, so you had to like touch them, and it'll make your character do whatever it had. Oh, it was like that Bubble Bobble game. So like you had to like you touch one person, and the gun would go this way, touch your third person, it'll shoot the bubble. Sort of deal. And it's really fun, really enjoyable, and you learn a lot about these games. And they're games like from the early arcade games to modern gaming with like the Super Nintendo, N64, Dreamcast, up to the PS4, Xbox 360 or Xbox One, and then even mobile gaming. Like one of the games that they played was Snake. But yeah, so I mean, it's fun, and you learn a lot about the various games. Including oh gosh, they did Super Street Fighter 2 on the latest episode, and you learn they did a little Easter egg after the video package that the the creator of the game wanted to give Chun-Li a lower health bar to show the realism of women being weaker than men. I'm using air quotes around there, audio listeners. But
Instead, they designed a video game around the sexism in the industry.
Yeah. And so they're like, so they make the joke of, oh, so you mean, yeah, like they're weaker when you're talking about a game where you create fireballs out of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah, that's great thinking. But no, it's a fun game. It's a fun show to watch, and it's making me go, oh yeah, I remember that game, or like, oh, I've never heard of that game. I should check it out, and just thoroughly enjoying it, enjoying myself. It's all the fun of Let's Plays, but with British people, with British celebrities.
Yeah, but it's still not as good as Game On, though.
Too soon.
Always too soon.
No, it's not as fun as Shut Up and Play the Twit After Party. You know, with producer and host Glenn Rubenstein. But yeah, so
crossroads.
So that is my nerding out, and now Corey, you have an app.
God damn it, I do, and I'm not proud. So earlier in the show, we mentioned the fact that I got my phone replaced. Now, when you get a new toy, even if it's the same toy that you just had, just made not to explode, you kind of you play with it for all it's worth. Much like a penis when you hit your early teens, it's just you can't put it down. You can't just stop messing around with it. And so now I'm the second time lucky. I'm trying to not fill up my phone with a bunch of apps that were just like transferred over from phones of many years ago, because that's the first thing it does is it starts loading up things that I've installed from the Google Play Store multiple times. Some of them just either stop getting developed or don't really exist anymore, and they're just taking up space. Some of them, like Samsung's Milk Music, which I liked a lot, have gone the way of the dodo. But I'm trying some new things too, and it's a decent phone. It's a decent sized screen. I thought I would give a shot at a game that I'd heard about a little while ago, and I'll get into the reasonings why in a minute. But it's based off of Marvel property. I thought, yeah, let's be a sucker and let's go and play a Marvel game, and it's called Avengers Academy. Now, I did not know what type of game it was. I assumed it was one with fighting and stuff. No, it's not that. It's not one of those bash'ems, crack your screen with your thumb because you're pissed off because Thor just kicked your tiny little ass again. It's not. And that's probably good, because I wouldn't retain interest in that kind of game for very long. I prefer a game that has a controller to it. It's still not quite right for me playing those types of games on a screen. There are games that work on phones really well. There are games that work on mobile really well, or on Game Boys in general. There's games that you want to play on your big screen, though. There's games that you want to play in front of a TV. This game is perfect for mobile, but it's also the worst kind of game possible.
Yeah, it's a Farmville type game.
That's exactly it. If someone had told me, hey, Corey, it's like Marvel Comics version of Farmville, I would have ostracized that person from my life. Unfortunately, I can't ostracize myself, and I know that I'm weak. Because when Farmville first came out, and Castleville, I think, was probably more my prime one, but other games like that, I was a sucker. I was one of those people who played that game way too goddamn much. I was one of those people who played that game to the point of like, yeah, you know, I could wait the 10, 14, 26 hours for my crops to grow, or I could drop the $5 into the system and just, you know, not be such a sucker. There was a Marvel game that was on Facebook as well.
Marvel Avengers Alliance.
Yeah, and I was on that one for a long time too. I cold turkeyed these games, man. It was rough. I needed help. I needed I needed strength. I needed the support of my loved ones. I maybe needed a straitjacket and for someone to take my card away. But I did it. I stopped it. And now I have fucked myself because I'm back into this shit unintentionally, based off of the idea of Marvel properties in general. And this is the reason why I installed it in the first place, is because I remember reading something a few months ago, maybe, about the fact that they were including characters who I've not gotten to yet, like Wiccan and Hulkling from the Young Avengers, or whatever version they're in now on that goddamn Marvel Universe stuff. And they were like, we have openly LGBT characters in a Marvel video game on mobile, and I thought that's pretty cool. And I have seen characters like Kamala Khan on here. I've seen Loki, and Loki's like all kinds of things. And since he was part of Young Avengers during the Gillen run, he's considered LGBT too, I guess. He's
also that because there will be times where he's a woman.
Yeah.
So he goes.
But I don't know if that's necessarily Loki transgendered. I think Loki just transcends gender is more of what the character is in that. But yeah, I get it.
So how early are you into the game?
I've hit level 11.
11? Okay.
Today. And I'm not far. I've only been playing it for a couple of days, but I have been relentlessly. My wife looked over my shoulder the other day. She leaned in to give me a kiss because she doesn't know what kind of moron she married in this regard. And she's like, "Oh, you're playing a video game. What game are you playing?" And I'm like, "One that fills me with nothing but regret and a lack of pride. Step away from me, woman. Don't allow yourself to get infected." She wouldn't get infected by this. She was the Candy Crush addict. So I just go ahead.
I'm gonna let you in on this. You came in late on it, which is fine.
Oh, absolutely.
But because like here, I will actually do the shaky cam again to look. There's my room. Trying to move a cord. I just realized this is my database right here of all the Avengers that I have.
Yeah, you've got characters like Agent 13, Ant-Man, Daredevil, Captain America. I mean, I can see that I can get Captain America.
Ant-Man is the one I'm currently trying to unlock, but Agent 13, Black Panther, they came
right now. The Guardians of the Galaxy are all the big rage and everything. I have seen Agent Coulson and Quake from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are available. But all of these are like, if you have a ton of things that require you to spend money. I ain't spent money on this yet, and I'm planning on not doing that. But it is such a tear in the nuts to just be like, oh, I've got to wait 8 hours for, like, all my missions are occupied, and they're all like legendary missions, and I have to just wait forever for it to happen. But that's why you can put down your goddamn phone. I'm weak. I'm not prideful.
Yeah, so there's been three or four special events. Like there was the Guardians of the Galaxy one, and they just redid it, so it's like you get Star-Lord here. Yeah. And then you get but with this one it was Star-Lord, Rocket, and Groot. But then but in the actual event, you could have got Gamora and
Drax,
Yondu, Drax, Nebula, and all that. But and like the Agent 13 and Black Panther, they were in the Civil War.
Right, when Civil War came out, that makes absolute sense. And that's the thing is, and I like more off the wall characters. Anyways, I'm not saying I'm not excited when Cap finally shows up, because I love me some Captain America, based off of the movies at least, not Captain Hydra in the comics. But I'm just saying it's the pressure is there constantly. Like, oh, you've got all these rocks that you need to clear to open up your area to be able to put down new foundations. Do you know what would be really good at knocking out those rocks? The Hulk. You know what it costs to get the Hulk? Oh, like $30. just fucking
if
throw
you want to
down,
get him
man.
early. Yeah, if
Right,
you
if
want to
you want
get
to
him
get him early.
early. But the cool thing that I like about the game is the voices. They have some big name people doing voices. Like Dave Franco does the voice of Iron Man.
I had a feeling
John,
that was Dave Franco. Every time I hear
yeah,
him talk, I'm like, that sounds like a Franco.
yeah. John Cena voices the Hulk. Uh, Priyanka Chopra, who's the star of Quantico, voices Kamala Khan. Um, and there's other ones, but I can't think of who they are right now. But
And it sounds like a selling point until you hear them say the same things a dozen
yeah,
times in an hour.
it's essentially like, oh, we got Priyanka Chopra in here to say 6 lines,
Now, it's
and
a
oh, we
little
got
easier, though, when you have many, many characters because you won't hear the same
yeah,
ones over and over
yeah.
again. But it takes some time to get there. The other thing is I
No,
like the
I've been
style of the
getting,
game.
yeah,
I
I've
like
been
I
getting,
like the look of the characters because the basis of this is that they're teens. They're in a college type situation where they're learning to be Avengers. Nick Fury and Pepper Potts, strangely, are the adult educators. Also, Hank Pym shows up. These are the kind of faculty of this that are teaching to be
yeah.
Avengers, but everybody else
Ares,
is kind of, yeah. I
yeah,
think I've seen
Ares
Ares
is in
pop up.
there. Odin,
Odin.
Pepper Potts is a student advisor.
Oh, that makes sense.
Sort of, yeah. Um,
Snitches get stitches, Potts. Just remember that shit. Yeah, but the style of it, they're all like in basic street clothes. They have jackets and jeans and everything. It looks very modern superhero of like we're gonna make them look more like they're able to hang out and go like they just fell out of the gap. And
yeah.
but it's cute. I like it stylistically. I like the voices.
And
It's one of those games that there's not a lot to it. It's just the compulsion to keep. It's like
mhm.
heroin. It is the heroin of games, and it's terrible. And I hate myself for playing it. And I'm hoping that I'll get bored of it, like I've gotten bored of many other things, and just like, nope, done now. But it's
I
tough at
highly
this
doubt it.
stage.
I hate to say it, but I highly doubt it because I've went through, I think it's 5 events.
Yeah, but
Or
I'm old and distracted easily, and I'm like got dementia just starting
yeah.
to happen. So it could be an advantage.
No, yeah. But the other cool thing that I like about this is the outfits. So when they had the Guardians of the Galaxy event, that was one of the outfits that you could get for Tony Stark. That's my tablet falls. You could get his Guardian Buster or Guardian armor right there. Or they have the other ones, like they got the Superior Iron Man armor. They got the Captain Star-Lord armor, the more classic looking Star-Lord. Um, who else? They got the Captain America Falcon, which I love. Um, and the other cool part is the way that they evolve. So right now, one of the characters I have is Spider-Gwen. I got her during the where is Spider-Gwen? Come here, Spider-Gwen. But I got her during the Spider-Man event, and the way that they evolve is, so you got level 1, which is more just Gwen Stacy of Earth 65. Then you get to level 3
Where they
where,
start to get pieces of the costume.
yeah, which this is almost like cosplayer Spider-Gwen, because it's like, oh, she has the hoodie, and then
Casual superheroics is what we'll call it.
yeah, and then level 5 where there's the full bore Spider-Gwen outfit. Um and which I would be eligible to get as soon as they unlock the, because that's the other cool thing that I like about this, or another cool thing is that you get these characters like Spider-Woman, the Jessica Drew Spider-Woman, Black Panther, uh at during these events, Agent 13, and then you get, and then you get them, and oh, how do I evolve them now that, or how do I level them up now that the event's over? Well, they make it easy where they will send in the missions, they will actually drop like emblems that look like half Captain America's shield, half Tony Stark's arc reactor thing, and oh, that's used for the people that I got during that event, or the Guardians of the Galaxy emblem that's for the Guardian for Peter Quill and Gamora, or Rocket, for the people you got during Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's the cool thing is they've taken the time to realize, okay, we got people who are spending a lot of time on this. How are we going to upgrade or get it to where they're not like, oh, after this, I can't upgrade Star-Lord after level 1 because I didn't work on him enough in that month of your event.
Right. Yeah, that's the worst. Also, I mean, the other thing that's the worst is anytime that you have things that are only available to people to spend money. If you can't work your way through it, if I'm willing to spend the hours and hours of time to advance versus the person who's got a Hunsky built in their wallet just burning through and they're just wanting to spend, I should get the same advantages they do, just in the time that it takes to do it.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And that's where I like that.
Sorry for sneezing into the mic. I was trying to mute at the same time it was happening.
Oh, you're fine. Are you kidding me? This is a dude who burps into his microphone all the time. But they also have this thing where a lot of the times, especially with the earlier events, the people who were like that you paid money for were the villains.
Right.
So like if I was, rich money bags, I would have been like, all right, $500 or whatever, however much it's been, and I'm gonna buy everyone to where I have, this big campus full where I got the Red Skull, he's doing these jobs and this and that. But yeah, it's I find it fun. Can it get boring? Yes, because I'm at the point now with leveling up buildings where it takes a day and a half.
Yeah, it's tedious, and you have to kind of pick and choose your, all right, well, if I send the person on this mission for 8 hours, it'll get this other thing unlocked. But if I want to open up the board to be able to get missions for other characters on that, I have to send them on this one for 10 hours. And it's just, you really have to kind of weigh on like, where do I want to send them now? And it's like, oh crap, I just sent Black Widow to go do this other thing. It's going to take all night, but I could have given her this mission for 3 minutes and busted this thing right through. So it's not exactly strategy. It's just more of planning versus not planning. And honestly, the nice thing about it is that, okay, everybody's occupied for the next 3 hours. I can close the app and go do something else, and it continues on. It's not like Pokemon Go, where you have to have the thing open or you're walking around to count your steps to have it register so that you can crack an egg once in a while, unless you have a watch or something that connects to it that will be coming in the future. That's the hope.
Go Plus.
Right.
That's another one I want people to quit asking. Do you guys have the Pokemon Go Plus? No, we do not, sir.
Yeah, having customers is the worst part about working retail.
No, it's having.
Why do people want to spend their money here? What do you think this is, a business?
No, it was the one time where in my head I'm like, shut up, evil, sadistic side or whatever, because this dude, bigger guy, he's like, and I was walking over to him when he asked another person who works there. So, do you guys, and they got on the radio, it's like, do we have Pokemon Go Plus? I'm like, no, you're gonna have to get that online. Well, it's $100. Well, how bad do you want the Pokemon Go Plus?
Right. Oh, by the way, we have a 2000 CP Snorlax in the stock room. Sorry, you're not allowed back there. Employees only.
But yeah, so that is it for nerding out.
Yeah, I'm not even necessarily nerding out so much as I'd like to get out of this nerding, but it's the right now.
I wasn't recording that.
It's okay.
All right, now I'm gonna mute that track so I can record again for our discussion topic. Our discussion topic this week is a fall TV premieres, reviews, things. I picked 3, Corey picked 3. There should be limited talking about each other's things because out of his, I've only seen one, and he said that he's only seen one out of mine. So there's those. So I'm gonna go first, and I'm gonna talk about the show that was the reason why, well, one of the reasons why we didn't record yesterday, and that is This Is Us. And This Is Us airs on NBC and has a big product promotion placement thing with TJ Maxx. They let you know after every first commercial break, which is fine. Not complaining, just pointing it out there. But the first episode of This Is Us, I watched and I enjoyed. This is essentially the Parenthood replacement. If you were like me and Corey and you enjoyed, well, I know I enjoyed. I think Corey enjoyed.
I never watched it. I could.
I thought you did.
I tried watching the first episode. I know you and Glenn were really into it, and the first episode was a huge turnoff for whatever reason. I realized it wasn't something I was going to be into, and so I just didn't go back to it.
Yeah. Okay, so like me and Glenn, if you really liked Parenthood, and you were sad that they had their series finale, this is a really good replacement. It's the basic premise of it, and what I feel like what sold the show was you are following people who were all born on the same day. And so I'm sitting here thinking, okay, these are, three, four different groups of people, and no, it's all one family. That was the first thing. Then I'm like, wait a minute, because the pilot, where they show you Milo Ventimiglia and Mandy Moore's characters, I'm like, okay, they're in modern times, sort of deal. And then I'm like, wait a minute, this guy is talking about his his twins or his triplets and how he lost one too, and it's the doctor who delivers the Mandy Moore's babies. And wait, was this time travel? And I'm like, oh wait, I actually went on the Wikipedia as I was watching the second episode, and I'm like, no, this is the parents, and you're looking at the sons or the kids as their adults. It's got this interesting thing of that I like, where the last little bit they hit you with something to then want to wait for the next episode. So like this one, it was they're so and so, like they're the three kids that you then realize are the brothers and sister that we're also following, and you're like, wait, time travel? Wait, huh? Is this sci-fi? Did I get onto something else? And then you're like, oh no, it's just regular. And then what happened to the dad? Because here's Mandy Moore in old person makeup with the dad's partner, like former like work partner. What's going on here? But I love this. There's these nice four stories that are being told and intertwining at the same time. And it is a Parenthood replacement, and that's what I love. It's filling that hole.
Now, should we be concerned though that it's a replacement for a show that didn't have very high numbers and viewership, and they took away from the people who are already enjoying it and then plug in something that is of a similar feel?
It's of a similar feel, but it's of a better feel too, because where
shots fired.
Well, not yet. Where Parenthood, and I love Parenthood. Don't get me wrong. Parenthood was all about this one family. You're following this family throughout their life as they're, living in, I think, what was it, Oakland, California, or, just outside of Berkeley, actually. I remember the town. You start going through with This Is Us, and it's the past and then the future, and In the second episode with the Milo Ventimiglia and Mandy Moore story, they were hitting on the fact that, well, the one son is adopted, and it's clearly adopted because he's black, and they're a white family, and so he gets called at school. He gets called Webster, and you see this divide with the brothers because of this, because they're like, the boys are making fun of him, and the other son does not stick up for his brother. It's just like, well, what are you gonna do? Boys are gonna be boys, and just goes walking off with his friends. He doesn't say anything in support of them, but he doesn't say anything against them either. And there's more here than what Parenthood had. Just because of this whole not dual timelines, but two separate moments in time that are taking place. You have this with the past, with the parents when they were their kids' age in the present, and then you have the kids in the present going about, the adoptive son meets his dad, or actually finds his birth father. The biological son, he's a famous actor on a sitcom, but is wanting to do more. And then the daughter has weight issues and is trying to find love, but also trying to love herself while losing weight and being a bigger girl in the world, but yeah, in LA. And it's just this really I love the story, and I compare it to Parenthood because it's the easiest comparison to make.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that I know I'm being a little bit facetious by saying, oh, well, they're taking the show that they just canceled and putting in something that's just like it. But it's just like Marvel relaunching a series with a new number one. It's a jumping on point. It's maybe there was something about Parenthood you didn't like. Maybe you didn't like the fact of a certain actor or actresses on there, or maybe you didn't like the fact that it was based around a movie and a previous TV series that were already done. Or maybe just in general, you don't have parents. You're like, oh, I don't want to watch something called Parenthood. I don't know. You could have come from a tube. That's fine. But so we flip and we start again. That's what happens.
Yep. So Corey, your first TV show, which one do you want to talk about here?
We'll start off with Speechless. Speechless was and I know that you saw this too.
Yep.
Speechless is in the ABC Family kind of feel of shows, those sitcoms that they do. It's following up the Goldbergs before Modern Family and Blackish. And it stars Minnie Driver and quite a few people in this that were actually really good. The guy who plays
David Ross Bowie.
Yeah, who we've seen on The Big Bang Theory, but in a ton of stuff if you go way back. I unfortunately can't think of anybody's names. I know that
Cedric Yarbaugh is the carer who's also the school janitor, or
right. He was from Reno 911.
Yep.
And the woman who played Alan's wife on 2.5 Men, the first wife, the mother of Jake, is the principal of the school on this. I also saw one of the guys from Broken Lizard in here as, I think, the gym coach.
Oh, yeah. Jay
Chattanooga. Yeah, we'll just go with it. See, this is why I didn't worry about knowing the names, because I just let you take this one. So Speechless is basically about a family. One of their sons has disability. He is in a wheelchair. He cannot speak. And amazingly, for this day and age, where we often just throw people into roles where it's almost unbelievable that we're supposed to accept that this character is played by a person who is nothing like them. They got somebody who I believe actually it has the same disabilities to be the character on the show and to essentially be one of the stars of the show. Like there's no like, oh, he's just somewhere in the background. We all know that he's there, but it's not really a show about him. It's a show about him as much as it is about anybody else. But he's got a younger brother and sister who, unfortunately, the parents, especially the mother, played by Minnie Driver, are so focused on giving this son the most fulfilling life possible and give him all the advantages they can to make up for the obvious disadvantages that he would have going to most schools, living in most neighborhoods and everything else like that. They've made it kind of the mission of the family is that the second son, the middle child, of course, middle child syndrome, feels like he's had to give up any kind of normalcy that he might have in the quest for normalcy for his brother. And what I like about it is that the brother doesn't really keep from picking on him. He doesn't like say, "Oh, I'm so sorry that all this stuff is happening for me." He gives him the same kind of shit that you would to your siblings. It's the characterization on this is actually pretty solid. I think the most over the top character is honestly the mom, and that's because she's the one who's so driven. It seems like there's a lot of very driven mothers on ABC. That seems to be a common theme, which is not bad, but it is starting to get maybe a little bit like we need to find a little bit more variety coming up. ABC, think about it. But in this case, she finds a new school. They move to a new home that is basically a ramshackled house that is not very good, but they're making these accommodations and stuff to go to a school to be in a better community. But she's sort of gotten them. She's slammed a lot of doors in places where they've been at before, where she's got a reputation when she comes in here. She starts out at the school and immediately is bitching to the principal about the fact that the only ramp into the school for her son is where they take the garbage and stuff out in the back. And yeah, of course. I mean, how is this person supposed to feel normal if he's always got to go around to an entrance that no other student uses? So it's not outlandish in the things that she's fighting for or fighting against in this case, but it is outlandish in the fact that she's just so over the top and she's missing the lives of her other kids and how it's disrupting them. It's a really sweet show, but it's also, and I was worried about this, is whether or not it was going to be a very funny show. And Erin, my wife, and I watched it, and we laughed a lot. We laughed probably more than we laugh at most of the shows. Certainly, Modern Family is getting a little long in the tooth now. I don't know if it's been written as well for the last couple of seasons. But
yeah, I'm starting to notice that with Modern Family myself.
Yeah. I mean, The Goldbergs is still killing it, but The Goldbergs is still relatively a young show compared to things like Modern Family in the Middle, which have been around for a long time and maybe have lost a little bit of their luster. This was really good. We watched, what's the one with the mother from Raising Hope?
Oh, The Real O'Neills.
The Real O'Neills. We watched The Real O'Neills last season. We liked it. I think that there's a lot of good there, but I don't know that it struck me as funny as this one does. Also, Fresh Off the Boat. I love the parents on that. I don't really connect with the kids at all on it, so it's not been one that I've stuck around with. Blackish, I'm kind of back and forth on. I think it's funny when I watch it. I watched the season premiere, and I didn't really take to the whole Disneyland thing. It's just like another Disneyland ad. But this was really solid. I mean, we've only seen the first episode so far. But
second one made me laugh more.
Good. That's good. I really hope this show does well.
Yeah, no, I honestly think it will. I wouldn't be surprised if out of the new, now I'm phrasing it this way, the new shows, if this is the first one from ABC to get renewed. Because the second episode like the first episode, to me, it suffers from watching the second episode, suffered a little bit from pilotitis,
Of course,
but
absolutely.
it was still funny. The second episode, there are moments in here where I'm just like, all right, this is funny. This is good. To give one away, there's a moment where I'm blanking on his name, but Cedric Garbo's character, the carer, is with JJ, and he's like, so they're at the board that has all the different clubs. Like, so what are you into? What do you want to do? You do sports? You do, which there right there is funny enough. Do you do sports? He's in a wheelchair, sort of deal. And it's like, what do you look at? And he's got this laser pointer on his glasses that he uses to communicate with people, because he's got a board that sits on his wheelchair that has like all words and letters and stuff. And you just see him look over to the side and laser pointer on a girl's butt, goes to another girl's butt.
See, that's the thing, is that first of all, the whole thing of Cedric Garbo's character becoming the voice for this kid is because he treats him with normalcy. He treats him like you would treat any other kid, which I think is great. But he's not dishonest. He's not like, oh, I'm going to treat you like everybody else, because they try to do that in the class. The class is like, oh, we're making you class president. He's like, you don't even know me. Why would you do that? I could be an axe murderer or something. You have no idea. He treats him normally, like he talks to him as a friend, as a person, and all that. But he doesn't ignore who he is at the same time. And I think that that's one of the joys of the show. And that's what I love about this kind of program, is that it's not like we had the Michael J. Fox show a couple years ago. And I didn't think the show was particularly funny, but I loved the idea of the show because it didn't make the show all about him dealing with Parkinson's disease.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it didn't ignore it and it didn't underplay it. It was just, this is a part of their lives. And dealing with this in your everyday life is a normal thing, but it's not all encompassing as to what their lives is about. I thought that was really good. I think that's something that it at best what TV can do is put things like this on the show. And it's not like, oh, well, they're just putting the token this or the token that in there. It's like, no, they're showing us a family. They're showing us people's lives. And there are things in people's lives that are maybe a little different from other people's lives, but we don't have to focus so much on the difference. We just focus on the people. And I think that's part of why I think this is great.
A really good comparison to this would be the Netflix movie, The Fundamentals of Caring. Because it's a lot of the relationship that that Paul Rudd and the main boy, I cannot think of his name, but the kid that he's caring for have, except there's just this added barrier of the kid in here doesn't talk. On Speechless, he doesn't talk. Sort of deal. So yeah, it's great, and it's Wednesdays at 8:30 on ABC. So I'm gonna do another one. I switched it up a little bit to where I took out the pitch. It's the baseball show on Fox. It's good, but I just remembered another show, and I'm like, oh wait, that one was better. And this one is on NBC on Thursday nights, and it's called The Good Place. Now, the first episode was directed by Drew Goddard, and oh my gosh, this show's so funny. It's right up there with me. Like, I'm trying to decide which one's funnier, Speechless or The Good Place.
For me, Speechless was funnier. I like The Good Place. We've watched the first 3 episodes so far. And I think it's okay. I think that there's some very funny things about it. But you do your review, and I'll just interject.
So The Good Place, it stars Kristen Bell, Ted Danson. There's other people that
William Jackson Harper is Kristen Bell's main character, Eleanor. Her what is supposed to be
Soulmate.
her soulmate.
Yeah. There's and there's other people in here that you'll notice if you watch a lot of TV shows. But Kristen Bell, her character Eleanor, died and has gone to the good place. You have the good place and you have the bad place. And the thing I love about this show is within the first 5 minutes, they hit every religion. Like, because he's doing, Ted Danson's character is doing, Michael's doing this interview with her, like, so you died. It gives in comedic detail how she died. Like, so you were leaving a Target and your bags broke, and so you went down to pick up the fruit and you got hit by a thing of a thing of carts, just like a whole bunch of carts. But you got up from that, and then there was a bus, or it was something like that, like it escalated. I'm like,
It just
oh
kept going on and kept getting worse as it went along, and she's just like, "Oh, okay, maybe I don't need to know all about this."
Yeah, but and so as they continue on, and she starts to realize, it's with religions. She goes, like, he gets done, and he's like, "So you got any questions?" And she goes, "So who got it right?" And then Ted Danson so eloquently put it, his character goes, "Well, every religion gets about 5% right. The only person to get it more right is this what is it, like Jeff from Canada,
Yeah,
who
something like that.
who got incredibly high one day and got 91% accurate. Here's a
We're all
picture of
just
him."
like, "How the hell is he doing this?" And they've got a picture of him, like he's famous up there.
Yes. It's funny. I love this show, and it's part of it's because the fact that they swear, but they don't swear. Like, they're all saying like fork and all that. Like, that's actually their advertising now is what the fork.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I felt got old really fast.
It did, but like I think they mainly used it in the first 2 episodes, and the third episode I don't think they relied a lot on it.
Yeah, so the conceit of the show is that she's died, she's gone up to this place, the good place, which where she's at, it was a place that was designed by this guy Michael, played by Ted Danson. So he's kind of in charge of making everybody's lives great. He talks about how exclusive it is. Like, people that you would imagine that would have made it to the good place aren't there. Like Sister Teresa and a bunch of other people. Like, you would think they would all be up there. Not quite good enough. It's really exclusive. And she's sitting there and she's going around and he's showing her everything. And she's like, "Oh, this is great." And he introduces her to her soulmate. He shows her around this home that's built specifically to her life's experience and desires and stuff. And there's all these pictures of clowns. And it's like, because you love clowns. She's like, "Yeah, I love clowns." And they just go through this whole thing. And then when she sits down with her soulmate after this, and like they talk for a few minutes and they're getting to know each other, and she's like, "Can you promise not to tell anybody anything if I tell you something?" And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely. I will 100% have your trust." She goes, "I'm in the wrong place, because whoever this life is that they're showing, that's not me. I'm not this person. Somebody screwed up." And now he's put in this position where he's an honestly good guy. He was a professor of ethics, and he is now not allowed to tell anybody that she's not supposed to be there. And he's trying to teach her how to be a better person, because her being there is screwing up the environment, and things that are from her mind and her guilt and stuff are affecting the place. And like, it starts raining fish, and it becomes sort of apocalyptic. It starts raining junk food, large animals start running through. It's just totally bizarre. But what you see start to happen as it goes on in the episodes is, and it's becoming more apparent, I don't know that anybody is supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Or that it's the good place that they think it is. And in this regard, this show sort of starts to become The Last Man on Earth to me.
Okay.
because the last man on Earth, the conceit was, here's this guy, he's the last man on Earth, this is what the story is about. And then it starts to deteriorate because by the end of the first episode, we get introduced to another person. And then a couple episodes later, we get introduced to more people. So the conceit of the show kind of bleeds off a little bit as what we first believed it to be about starts to go away. The other thing is that it's about a person who's inherently not a good person. And that's what The Last Man on Earth is as well, is that the character...
But I think the difference, though, is that we're slowly starting to learn that no one is really... It seems like they're really meant for the good place. But it's... I don't know. It seems like they were, though. Like... Now,
it seems like none of them are terrible, but I look at it and there's a scene in the Hitchhiker's Guide series, and I believe it's in the third book. Maybe it's the end of the second book, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, but it's somewhere in there where Arthur Dent and Ford Prefect wind up on this spaceship. And it's full of all these people, and they're one of three ships, and all three of the ships had to evacuate the entire population of their planet because their planet is being destroyed. So the first ship is all of the big thinkers, the brains, the smart people, the rich people, like all the super successful people and everything are on that first ship. The third ship is all of the artists and all of the dreamers and the musicians and things. They're all on this other ship here. And this second ship is all the people who do the very menial things, like somebody is a telephone sanitizer. And some of them is like they're crossing guards. And they're just like, but they're all just like all together, not really great people and not really important people, not important to the arts, not important to the culture, but not important to making things and creating things with science and stuff. They're just kind of like, And so as Ford and Arthur are talking to them, they're saying, so what happened to your planet? And the captain's like, oh, well, these aliens were coming and blah, 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 blah. And someone else is like, oh, no, what I heard was the whole planet was going to explode because the core went bad. And then this other guy is like, no, what I heard was this. And it slowly dawns on Arthur and Ford, but nobody else on the ship, that all these people were basically fed a line of bullshit. And they put them on this one ship, and everybody else just stayed on the planet. And so they all think they're going somewhere to escape from, and they're all going to meet up, and everyone's like, yeah, we'll see you when we see you. And that's about it. And that's the feeling I get from the first three episodes I've seen so far of this show, is that maybe in the end, it's all a big con job, because even Michael, Ted Danson's character, who put this whole thing together and is supposed to be like the epitome, he's like the introduction to this afterlife and the good place and talking about how exclusive it is. Even he starts to go a little bit mad and crazy, and he winds up kicking a dog into the sun. And he's just like not quite altogether a great person either. And I kind of feel like that's what we're going to see as the season goes on. But so far, it's pretty funny.
No, yeah. So you have two other shows here, both of which are reboots.
Oh God!
Which reboot would you like to talk about first?
I'm gonna do this first one, and I'm gonna say that fuck you, Beatmaster, because Beatmaster basically asked in our Slack channel, in the ElseNerds Slack, which you can get to if you go to gncast.com/signup. Who's gonna watch Lethal Weapon so I don't have to? And I threw myself on that fucking grenade and watched it. Now,
thank you, Steve Rogers.
Yeah, let's just go with it. So, Lethal Weapon, obviously, a series of films from the 80s through the 90s. I don't think they made it into the 2000s.
Direct the third one, or write the third one?
I don't fucking care. I enjoyed Lethal Weapon. My friends and I, we rented the first Lethal Weapon one night when we were teenagers and watched it, and it was pretty good. And then the second one, a bunch of us were old enough to go out and see it in the theater when it came out. Really, great action film, gets you hyped up. Some tragic bullshit happens with the cute blonde in it. Patsy gets it. This is back in the day when Mel Gibson was cool and probably the coolest, doing these movies and doing the Mad Max stuff and everything. And great action films. Danny Glover, fantastic. Joe Pesci was funny in the second one. The third one was a piece of shit. The fourth one was all right. They bring Chris Rock in, a little bit better, but still, the first two were great. So they're doing a TV series based around the concepts from the movie, but they're not trying to copy it completely. Like they're the same characters, but in this, Martin Riggs is not Australian. Like he basically is, because I don't know if I can't remember if Gibson was supposed to be trying to be American or not in that, but he definitely did not sound it. This guy is more of a country guy. He's trying to move his wife, I think, to Texas from where she's from. It starts out with tragedy. He is a cop. He's kind of a danger lover, but he's very good at it and everything. And his wife is about to have a baby. So he finishes off a mission. He's like, I got to go. I got to take care of myself because I've got a wife and I've got a baby on the way. On her way to the hospital to have the baby, her car gets hit by a truck, essentially, and he loses the both of them. Now, at the same time, we then meet up to Damon Wayans Sr. playing the Murtaugh role that was originally Danny Glover's, who is a cop. Instead of being ready to retire, which is where Murtaugh was, he is older, but he's recently suffered an injury on the job, has been away from recovering, is coming back in, but he's definitely a senior officer. He's more of a mind of like, I'm going to, play it a little bit safer. But it's not exactly his nature to play it safe. It's just that that's where he feels like he is in life. And so you hook the two up as partners, hilarity ensues. I'm too old for this shit. You're fucking crazy and have a death wish. It's the basic premise of the movie taken now to the show. As the first episode goes, it's not awful. It's the same. There's no surprises to it. But it's perfectly okay. They're enjoyable. Watching the people playing the parts on the screen, they're doing a good take on what is classic characters. Was it a classic duo conceit from a lot of buddy cop films? It's the buddy cop film taken into a TV series. And that's not really that different from other shows that we've enjoyed. The Almost Human that we watched and loved a couple years ago that Fox canceled because they're dicks. Is a buddy cop show. It's not so far apart from this. It's just, it's safe. It's the same. It's not awful. I just don't know that it's going to warrant, like, I have to tune into this every week. But I think that obviously Damon Wayans is, Damon Wayans is great because he's Damon Wayans. I think his son is actually more talented, even though they look exactly the same. I think that the guy playing Riggs in this, who I had seen on episodes of Leverage, actually, not much stuff other than that, he's really good at it. He's absolutely good in the role. He's got the charm. He's got a good amount of charisma. He can do the action stuff really well. He plays the sadness as well as he plays the craziness. And it's not like at the end of Lethal Weapon 1, we finish up and we see that Riggs is kind of like got a new zest for life. At the end of this episode of the pilot and everything, Riggs still wants to die, and he doesn't make a secret of it to his partner. He's not going to lie to him and say that he doesn't want to die, but he's not actively trying to kill himself. He's just not protecting himself either. But he is protecting his partner. And so that's why it's not awful. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to do crazy shit. It's like, well, then I'm going to get your ass thrown off the force. It's not quite that, but there is the same shit of the captain is like, you guys blew up half the fucking city, and I got to go fucking take care of this, and the the mayor's on my ass, and all that other shit. That's all cliche, and it's all the same.
Yeah. So, the last show that I'm going to talk about is Kevin Can Wait. Much like people who are watching live had to wait for me to fix my microphone. Um, this is the follow up to The Big Bang Theory on Monday nights, with on CBS, and it stars Kevin James and Aaron Hayes, and then there's a few other people that you'll recognize. The dad from the Neighbors, that was the human neighbor. He's in here. And there was a few other people that I recognize too, but I can't think of off the top of my head. And this is honestly a show that I went in wanting to hate, wanting to be like, oh well, it's just it's typical CBS sitcom-y thing.
It's let's be honest. It's typical Kevin James sitcom-y.
Yeah.
There is no new ground being broken by Kevin James in this part.
Yeah, no, and for a lot of the bits that is true, but I don't hate it. I don't love the show, but I don't hate the show either. So Kevin Can Wait. It's Kevin James's character just retired from the police force. Excuse me. And he is now, basically almost like a stay-at-home dad, with his daughter. I think they just have the one kid.
No, they have 3 kids.
Then I am like missing out on two of them kids. Then
It starts out with 2 kids at the kitchen with them in the beginning, and then the elder daughter, who is away at college, comes home and introduces the boyfriend.
yeah, that. See, that's where because I'm like, wait, is it just the daughter at college? Because the other ones are just background characters. It seems like
Because
there's with the first 2 episodes. But I mean, it's I am a great babysitter beat. I should let you know. Um, but it's interesting in the fact that it's a CBS comedy. It's a Kevin James comedy. There are funny moments in there, but at the same time, it's like it's a Kevin James comedy. It's a CBS sitcom.
Yeah, I mean, it's got Gary Valentine playing his friend who played, I think, his brother on the King of Queens. So he certainly has his cast of favorites to bring back. The parts with him sitting around planning the retirement out with his cop friends, it was a lot of time spent on that when I didn't think any of those people were fleshed out at all or all that interesting. And it reminded me again of all the friends that he had on the King of Queens, or the friends that hang out with Ray Romano on and Everybody Loves Ray. Everybody Loves Raymond. It just feels so derivative of the shows that we've already seen happen. At the end, they do. I've only seen the pilot. At the end, they do a thing where they go and they do go-karts, and they kind of like do a go-kart ride-off against each other. And that seemed very much straight out of the interplay of the characters in Grown Ups, which I think it's also trying to follow. So Kevin James is like, hey, I know not everybody likes me. I know not everybody loves my stuff. But if you're a fan of my stuff, of the things that I've done before, you're going to like this too. It's safe for pre-established Kevin James or pre-established Adam Sandler-esque productions.
Yeah. No, yeah, it just seems safe to me, which is fine because, The Big Bang Theory they're, gosh, they gotta be coming close to wrapping up here soon.
We kind of
Um,
hope.
yeah, and like,
I mean, the first episode is he's retired. He's going to enjoy retirement. You know, his wife is still working. I think she's a school nurse or something.
yeah,
Uh, he's got the two younger kids, and then the daughter comes home from college, and then the big problem is, oh no, I'm going to introduce dad to my boyfriend. And oh
slash
shit,
fiance.
how many? Yeah, and oh, actually, we're secretly engaged. And oh, I'm gonna drop out of college to help him make his app. Oh, that's a newfound thing. Apps. Ooh, I should do a review on one. And so then they're gonna go live in the rental property garage that they were going to rent out to have extra income. And now he's gonna have to go back to work some bit. But it just seems like this is as cliche as you can get, but at the same time, that's why people watch a lot of sitcoms, is they like the familiarity, they like the simple stories, they just want to hang some jokes on it, they just want to be able to laugh for 20 minutes and just get through their fucking night before they go to bed and have to go and do their own work in the morning and raise their own fucking kids and deal with their own goddamn wife. By the way, if you're dealing with your wife and it's Erin Hayes, you have fucking made it, man, because she is awesome. And she is the one thing about the show that I'm like, I have hope that it will utilize her, because she is so funny. And everything I've ever seen her in, she's just crazy good. And I don't want to see her get wasted. But I know that while I'm not the biggest King of Queens fan, and I'm not necessarily the biggest Leah Remini fan, they utilized her really. And so I hope this show utilizes Erin Hayes much to the same degree. And I know that the elder daughter, Taylor Spritler or whatever, has been on other sitcom stuff too. She was on the one with Joey and Melissa Joan Hart, Joey and Melissa, or Melissa and Joey, whatever it was.
Melissa and Joey.
Yeah, so I mean, she obviously she's got some pedigree from TV. The boyfriend I found outright annoying, which is too bad because it's Ryan Cartwright, and he used to be on Bones, and then he went over to that series on Sci-Fi that unfortunately only lasted for 2 seasons, where they all had superpowers.
Alphas,
yeah. So I mean, they've got some good people. Like I said, the guys that were playing his friends, I didn't find anything compelling about them. I would like to have them used sparingly, because so far there wasn't. They were all just kind of like feeding him lines to make jokes on. And I would rather have people who hold their own in the show. I'd rather have more emphasis on the other 2 kids and see some young actors come up and get to build their comedy chops on here, than to see 4 other fat dudes sitting on a couch next to Kevin James making him look not as fat.
Yeah.
Although if that works, send them my way, because I need help. And a pizza.
I mean,
is this a show that you are planning on tuning into every week, or is this a show that you would just put on in the background?
I'd probably more put it on, because I think what I did with this one, actually, yeah, it is what I did, is I had, because I was house sitting from my grandma, so I had it on the TV, and then on my tablet I had on the USA Live feed, and I was watching professional wrestling. So it was like I was catching both, but I was more focusing in on professional wrestling,
which seems well suited to this. It seems almost like you're watching it with the guys in the show, because I could see them watching it too.
Yeah, and the other part that I'd like is that the whole show is filmed in New York. Like, it's filmed in Bethpage, New York, at Gold Coast Studios, in Long Island. So that's, cool. They're getting out of the, oh, well, let's go film it. We're gonna film a sitcom here in LA, sort of deal. At the very least, there could be some more or some different exterior stuff. But I don't know. I didn't hate it, but if I, the schedules get really packed, this will probably be the first show that I drop.
I mean, it's not an abortion of a program like I feel that Two Broke Girls is normally, or honestly, I hate to say this, the Odd Couple is just I want to like the Odd Couple so much, and every single ounce that I've ever tried to stomach of it has just regurgitated out of me like the fucking acid that eats the computer in Superman 3. I just know that this is not bad. It's at best harmless, which is pretty much a statement of Kevin James' entire body of work. Kevin James doesn't have an attractive body of work. But it's all right. It's certainly par for the course, especially following up the 19th season or whatever they're on of The Big Bang Theory, which is a show that I do like, but at this point, I think I'm going through the motions liking it just as much as they are making it. So we know. We know what we're doing here. We're on the same page. And that page is mostly pictures and a lot of coloring outside the lines at this point.
So, Corey, you have one final show, and that is on the CBS network as well.
Oh, God. Is it, though? Is it really? Is it on a network, or is it just somebody directing to YouTube? So I wound up saying nicer things about Lethal Weapon than I probably thought I was going to. This is the reverse. This is the show that, even though I knew from the geniuses who brought us CSI Cyber, and
seriously,
I just mean the channel, and Scorpion and other shows that are just built directly on disappointment. We've got the MacGyver show, which is packed full of cliches that if they were cholesterol, you would have just basically exploded on contact. It's just... I wanted to like this. I have no opinion of the original MacGyver TV series, other than Richard Dean Anderson's glorious hair and the pretty cool theme music, and a surprisingly hilarious last season where it's like we're gonna have him go to things like meet King Arthur and shit. I don't know any of it because I didn't watch the show. I know other people watched the show at that point in time. I was not a TV viewer for much of that era because I was a teenager, and suddenly, for some reason, girls found me interesting. But I wanted this show to be at least as stomachable as Kevin Can Wait. And that's the bar that we've got right now that we're at. Now, again, in all of these cases of the shows we're discussing tonight, we're talking about pilots. We're talking about first episodes, and a couple of them we've gotten to see more, like This Is Us or The Good Place. But in the first episode of any show, we've talked about this before, you've got to establish things, you've got to just put it out there, and it's going to be rough, but then you can build on that, and the structure for the rest of the season is what makes or breaks it. The first episode, all right, but episodes 2 through 5, that's where it's going to be, is this really worth being on my screen ever? But in this first episode, it is just a lot of the standard, not just standard like adventure movie cliches or the standard MacGyver cliches, which I think MacGruber is probably a better offshoot of MacGyver than this show is, but the standard CBS action shows cliches. Now, I love me, God damn it, I love me some Leverage, and Leverage plays loose and fancy free with the tech and the science stuff and everything. But to me, it's an enjoyable show because the characters are just so much fun, and I like the actors. My wife despises Leverage. And just like looks at me with a seething sort of like, why the fuck did I marry you? Anytime that she comes home, and I'm sitting in front of the 20th replay this month because it's on every Sunday. I don't care. I love that show. if MacGyver could achieve a level of that, that would be amazing. And that's what I'm trying so hard to talk myself into watching the second episode. It also has George Eads in it. George Eads was the last good original thing left on CSI before it went away. CSI went so far fucked up, but George Eads, like anytime he was on there, it was still like, okay, we still got Nick. Nick's a good man. I like this guy. I'll watch it for Nick. I stopped watching it. I don't like Nick that much, but I liked him. And I think with CBS doing things like they've got that new show Bull, which takes a character actor from NCIS and moves him over into a new show where he has to play something different. It's hard that first time you see someone that you register as one character play a different character. And George Eads, it's not like it's a stretch. He's just playing a more jacked up kind of ladies' man version of the character that he's already played. But he's playing second fiddle to a young guy who's the new MacGyver. But just so much of this is like, oh well, it's I'm MacGyver and I'm super cool and I've got some gadgets and every once in a while I pull out a paperclip and make something happen with fake techno bullshit science like CSI Cyber that may be real but probably ain't. And it's the problem isn't that they make unbelievable science happen in the show. The problem is that they emphasize so much that they're teaching you something really cool when they're doing it. And it's not cool. It's not interesting because it's mostly crap. And it's the same crap that we've already seen on your other shows. So it's not even like you're fake teaching us shit that's new. It's just like, oh, God damn it. And then they lose one hacker girl and she gets shot and MacGyver gets shot. But then you just know as she gets shot, it's like, oh, they just shot her in the shoulder, but it's not a real shot. And she's going to come back and she's going to be the actual bad guy. Which, fucking A, that's exactly what happens. It's just, it's the same goddamn fucking story shit. I wanted an ounce of originality. And then at the end of the episode, we get the gang sitting around having beers and being cool and like, hey, we got our new fucking foundation. We got to change the name. Let's come up. You guys get to choose a new name, right? Because you four fucking people, one of whom isn't even a part of the team, get to like hang out and like it's on you, man. Well, why don't we call it the Phoenix Foundation? Because that's what they did in the first show. Fuck yeah! Beer me. And that's exactly like just such a half-assed attempt. And then he tells you what a Phoenix is, because at this point in time in 2016, no one's ever heard what a fucking Phoenix is before. But he doesn't just explain it to the viewer, he's got to explain it to the people on the show who are supposed to be semi-intelligent fucking idiots who like, I've never heard of a Phoenix. I don't know what a laptop is. Is that your dick in your hand? I can't tell. It's just such shit. And I'm just like, fucking A. And then the cops, the magic cops who are like really good at their jobs, right? No, because we're cops on a fucking show on CBS. They're fucking driving through a tunnel, and the girl that we caught bitch who was like gonna blow up the fucking city because reasons and shit, she's just in the back seat and she's got a fucking pin on her. No one thought to say, hey, this bitch who hung out with fucking MacGyver, who does this shit all the time and shows it off to everybody because that's how he gets the chicks. She just like picks her cuffs, jumps out the door, and the cops come out the other side of the tunnel like, where'd bitch go? That's the fucking show. So I didn't enjoy it. I tried really hard.
Yeah.
But it was not happening. So yeah. I can't believe I'm gonna tell you this, America. And by America I mean the four people. Hi Brandon, who sometimes listen to this program. Yeah. And that is
don't watch
Lethal Weapon, the series on Fox, as opposed to watching MacGyver. I'm saying this to you. People of the world, good people of the world, you will get more out of Kevin Can Wait than you will get more believable technical expertise out of him sitting there talking with his 4 dumb fuck cop friends about.
I don't know. You haven't seen the second episode.
I don't know. I don't know. But if he can work at PVR, sitting his lazy ass there, reaching for fucking peanuts, then he's better than the first episode of MacGyver was.
Yeah. Well, I think on that note, it's just about time to wrap up. And here at Galactic Netcasts, we got bills we got to pay. We got the lights we got to keep on.
I need therapy to get over this shit.
Dave needs to make all the money because, hey, guess what? We got the Corey rant. You needed it. Dave been asking for that rant. Here we go. But so there are ways that you can help.
I'm just a dirty whore. Dance for me, monkey.
Yep, that's exactly what David's saying right now. He's like, dance, monkey, dance. But much like, you guys, we need help with this. And we need money. So you can give us money in one of 2 ways, both of which can be found at gncast.com/support. The first way is you could do our Patreon. You can submit to our Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You can help keep the ship afloat, and there are prizes, perks that go along with that. But mainly, it's you help us out, we help, or then we get to do this show that you love. The other way, and it's even easier, is whenever you're going to shop on Amazon, go to gncast.com/support and go to our affiliate link and then shop to your heart's content, because everything in your cart, when you hit continue, and you check out and all that stuff, about 4% of that goes to Galactic Netcasts to keep the lights on. And that is great. The other thing you could do is you can leave us feedback by leaving a voicemail at 805-328-3966 or emailing us mail@elsenerds.com. And all of our subscription options can be found under the gncast.com/subscribe. And that's also how you could get into the Slack channel, is through gncast.com/subscribe. And you could find all the social media stuff for Galactic Netcasts by searching Galactic Netcasts. And you can follow our show on Twitter.
Actually, now it's Galactic Network.
Is the social medias all changed over?
Dave made the change this week.
Okay, cool. So Galactic Networks as opposed to Netcasts. But you can follow our producers on Twitter. They're at Beatmaster80, at Mr_Fusion. I'm at that Gregor. You can find all of Corey's comic book stuff. I'm giving him a break since he just ranted. He's a little winded. He's old and all that stuff.
Inhaler's in the room.
He's all of his stuff can be found at Don't Ask Comics, and the website don'taskcomics.com. And the final thing to be said is this has been a Don't Tell Glenn production. We will see you guys next week.
Or else we'll make you watch fucking MacGyver.
MacGyver!